Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Faye, and welcome to my channel and welcome to another Tech Tuesday. Today we're going to bring it back to my roots, programming, and talk about recursion. A recursive function is a function that calls itself. Super simple explanation, not so simple to understand. So let's take a look at the parts of a recursive function. There are two main elements to a recursive function. We have stopping conditions and we have recursive steps. Stopping conditions are cases where the function does not call itself, and recursive steps are cases where the function does call itself repeatedly. Stopping conditions are vital, otherwise you'll get stuck in an infinite loop of recursion. A great example of recursion is factorials. In math, the factorial of n is the product of n and all the positive integers less than n. So now let's take a look at what the function looks like when we're coding it out. So I'm going to make a public function called Factorial, and we're going to call an integer n a positive integer n. You can only do factorials on positive integers. And I will write an if-else statement, and I'm going to be putting my stopping condition in the if statement. So since we only want to multiply positive numbers with n going down one number each time, we want to stop when we hit 0. So our stopping condition is when n hits 0. And when that happens, we are going to return 1. So now in our else statement, that's where I'm going to be putting our recursive steps. What we want to do is we want to return n. And then this is where the recursion comes in. We're going to multiply it by factorial n minus 1. Oops. So let's say we pick 5. It's going to take 5 times the factorial of 4. Then 4 times factorial of 3, 3 times factorial of 2, so on and so forth until we hit 0. So now to actually see what we're doing, we got to print it out. So we'll say system out print line. And then you can take factorial, and we'll just take 5 to begin with. You know what, let's do a couple of them. How about that? How about we, just do a couple, just to make sure it's working. So we'll do factorial 5, 6, and 7. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, let's compile it. Oh my gosh, I can't type. Now let's run it. Compiled just fine. Okay, so the factorial of 5 is 120, factorial of 6 is 720, and factorial of 7 is 5040. So that's correct. Our program is working correct. I hope this was a decent explanation of the basics of recursion. Now that you understand recursive functions, that doesn't mean that recursive functions are always appropriate. A lot of computer architectures will spend a lot more time on the call overhead than the actual calculations. Iterative functions use loops instead of recursive calls, and so they don't have this overhead call time. And so a lot of times iterative functions are much more efficient than recursive functions, but recursive functions have their place and they're very important to know how to utilize. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I will try to answer the best I can. And I'll see you next time. Bye!